Go. Hello, everyone. Welcome
Alive.
back to welcome back to the Church of the Sacred Synthesis weekly conclave. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the altar, everything about the altar, all the different aspects and excitement that the altar can bring. And so, before we get into that, I'm going to share some announcements with you. The Light Wand ceremony replay is now available to all the members. So look for that available to you. You should have gotten an email linking you to it. And then the next ceremony, the next Light Wand ceremony will be held virtually and in person in Tucson. So we have started sending some information out about that. So just keep your eyes peeled. And and then yesterday, if you tuned in, great. If not, obviously catch that on YouTube as well. The most recent Toad Talk, where Ian and I sat down and chatted about what's going on right now in where he's at in Arizona, and really chatting about the happenings around the American bullfrog and its impact on the Sonoran Desert toad. So very interesting information contained within that. And then next week, we have the orientation call for new members or existing members. If you want to join in, by all means, it will be in the member calendar. So just click on events and scroll down, check out the calendar, and you can add it to your independent calendar from that portal. The next week's conclave will be focused on energetics, and we're going to be specifically talking about the chakras, different energy centers in the body, and how they align. And then also, finally, rounding out the announcements, we've got some new sweet Toad swag. So we've got these sweet hats. If you haven't seen them, they got a cool logo on the top, and the ever-present enlightened toad emblem. Very cool. So anyway, you can check those out. And without further ado, I will turn it over to my beautiful partner, Cynthia, where she's going to open us into, she's disappeared. Well, so guess what? I'll continue to talk about swag for just a moment. And well, I'll just start talking about the altar and what an altar is. So what is an altar? An altar is really a place, a focal point where, here she's back. Let's just pause for a moment.
Okay.
Here you are. Hello.
I was just laughing about the internet connection in the Midwest.
Oh, great.
I might disappear again. It looks like the connection is going away again. Ben, can you hear me?
I can. You're clear as crystal. And
okay, great. So if I disappear, I'll just make this rule for myself. I want to be here with you all, but I also understand the importance of things flowing smoothly. So if I disappear more than 2 times after this, then I'm just going to hand it off to you, Ben.
All right, I'll take it.
That's the power of the altar.
Yep.
Excuse me?
Go for it.
Okay. So thanks. So altar, the root word related to elevate, high place. So that comes from Latin, which I haven't studied since high school. So excuse me if I mispronounce it. So it's essentially a structure that's made for offerings, connection, and reverence. And it can be a focal point within your business, within your bedroom, within your place of living, or within a place of ceremony or ceremony in general. It can be personal, ancestral, erotic, planetary, artistic, earth-based. Like, it is an unlimited range of what an altar can be. And it's really not about the aesthetic or aesthetic perfection, but it's more so about resonance and attunement to whatever is placed upon and placed within speaks to the collective of people, that altar is meant to be that high point, that visualization point, that place of resonance for. So many of you may have seen altars or experienced altars, whether that's been in a like a religious center, a spiritual or ceremony of some type. You may be building unintentional or have been building unintentional altars throughout your life. I know before I became aware of this, I was already doing an altar. When I would travel, I would have certain little things I would place by my bedside every single night, a picture, some oils, and a few little things that meant something specific to me that I wanted to have there in a form of resonance. So that's just like touching on what altars have been. And if you want, Ben, I can dive a little bit deeper into like the more historical components of altars around the world, or we can move on to why folks may want to consider having an altar.
Oh yeah, well, I think it'd be really nice to hear some of the, the why and where these come from. Like, what's the maybe we don't know the origins, but I know that there's a lot of history around.
Ben, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I think copy. So maybe you can sign language to me or send me a message via a Raven, or type me a note. You might be able to type me a note what you want to hear, or I'm just gonna take the reins and run with it.
Yeah, go for it. Take the reins. I mean, you know how to ride a horse, so go for it.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So we can talk about the prehistoric origin. So Paleolithic and Neolithic peoples created stone circles, cave arrangements, fire pits, and early like proto altars. Many times they were in association with spirits, ancestors, and we believe in relation to the cycles of the sun and moon and planetary alignments. I think there's a lot of questions still about why those things were built. But along with these kind of proto altars, there were offerings that were made, such as smoke, food, sometimes blood, or something that was meant to feed the spirits or the place and almost be a sacrifice of some sort. So I'm not necessarily saying that these were altars in name, but perhaps in that resonance or in that level of essence of importance to those peoples. And then we can talk more about Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. Temples were dedicated to gods and goddesses. So there were places within those temples where temples and tombs, statues of the gods, and offerings to the dead were made. The Vedic and Hindu traditions are still very much alive today, and something that's common with them are fire altars, which are seen to be kind of like the mouth of the gods, and that represents Agni Kund, which is that fire that's within us. So they're usually geometrically constructed to represent cosmic balance. And then we can think about ancient Greece and Rome. There were hearth altars, and there were many altars that were dedicated to the Olympian gods that were used for both public use in the city centers for civic and spiritual rites. So some fun little touches on there in ancient times, and kind of coming more into the still ancient, but coming into the more modern times are Abrahamic traditions. So think Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Each of those have their own different versions of altars. I grew up in the Christian faith, going to a myriad of different sub-belief systems in the Christian faith, and there was always an altar of some sort. Some of them were much more grandiose and pompous and like filled with flowers and ornate things, whereas others were a bit more simple but still equally beautiful. And then we can think about more indigenous and animistic cultures, which is found throughout the world. And many times those are altars that are made of earth, bone, feather, stone, or shell. those are elements I really like to include in the altars that I make. And then moving into contemporary and more new age practices, most people create like moon altars for the full moon or the new moon. Others might create a grief altar whenever they've lost a beloved one, or whether that be a human or an animal. And I really love the little ashes box that many people have for their pets, where they many times will have their ashes in a box and then place the pet's collar, or maybe like a mold of their footprint, their paw print, on top of it. And that might be something that you all have that is an unintentional altar that is set in devotion and love to that particular pet. Or you might have, something from a passed on relative or beloved one, like I said, that you keep in remembrance of them. And then, of course, when we go into this is a psychedelic church, we go into psychedelic ceremony or plant medicine or animal medicine ceremonies. Many times we're creating an altar of some sort, or even something like circles. There's those different types of altars created. So that's like a little bit of touching on history of altars throughout the many, many, many years that we are aware of at this time.
Yeah. Well, since we're really history in the making, like why would someone want to place an altar in their home or in their ceremony space, or different areas of their life?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with anything, I like to think. What I've realized is that altars are a beautiful place to return to and to be in a state of calm and resonance. And if you create an altar after a certain amount of time of visiting it, there's almost like this soothing bubble, this energy that's created, that when you sit before it, there's like a stillness that washes over me, at least. So thinking about it as a calm place in a world of chaos.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can pivot off of what you're sharing too, like in ceremony where actually I'm going to be going next week. When we work with medicines, we set an altar which creates maybe a portal for energy to flow into or from, to create like a place for things to go, essentially. And having flowers. Oh, my lantern, something's going nuts. I'm sorry. Like having flowers or other elements on the altar, like a living presence, really can help ground. And I'm sorry. There's so many issues. My thing's going nuts.
What is happening with the tech today? We didn't put a computer chip on your altar or something.
Yeah, well, I think that may be it. The technology gods are.
We're not making offerings to the tech gods.
Perhaps the computer. Wow, like think about this. Perhaps a computer is a form of an altar. It's like really a portal to other dimensional experiences and connection from like us so far away from one another.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one, but sure, go for it.
Depends on how you decorate it, I guess.
I think, yeah. So, I mean, perhaps if like your devices are anchors into like daily ritual, or can act as a mirror reminder for your soul desire, grief, or growth, then fantastic. Like, and if they're strengthening your intentions and your presence, perhaps about my tools like that, where I look at a computer or a tablet or a phone or really any of this tech, it's a tool for me. Whereas an altar is like I mentioned before, this bubble of serenity that I have intentionally placed items upon that feel like power items. They might feel, if there's a person who I keep getting this nudge, might need some extra love, focus, prayer, energetic work, because I do sit at my altar and I do energy work on myself and sometimes for others, then I'll place them there. Whereas I'm not really, while I am doing beautiful works on my devices, and it's not this same level of like sacred connection that I feel when I sit in front of an altar of any type. But maybe that's different for you.
Well, sure. I guess I'm thinking about like time spent. It's like trying to create so much, like using the energy body, and we're not running around like chopping trees down. Really, it's like sitting in this portal of energy and feeding it, creating something that is transcendent beyond me, my physical form, and perhaps aligning different elements of life that can be experienced in the future or be shared outwardly through what seems to be magical connection, where we have this like router, internet plugs in, but if you would give this device to someone 2,000 years ago, they would worship it. They'd be like, holy moly, like you can see someone that's thousands of miles away, like yeah, like are you in heaven or some other place? Like that's
sure.
It's like, so sometimes I like to like dial my intelligence back and like think about things in like a prehistoric brain, and like, oh, okay, like there is a lot of magic. We just have so much development on it. So for me, I'm not necessarily
Yeah,
worshiping
but
the computer.
but does that make it an altar?
I don't know. I mean, if perhaps like energetically, if
Okay. Yeah, I think
well,
what
look,
we're
I mean,
talking about
well,
here,
maybe
I
not the
think the
computer
intention.
itself, but like I've got all these little things around it that are helping to ground into the space.
Okay, so I think that's a good point. So maybe the device itself, maybe we can have a more there's another element of altar here, but those might be, if you truly, this is my opinion, obviously, if you're truly coming to your device with intention, clarity, purpose, and you're coming into what I believe altars are set up for, which is it's going beyond the self. They're set up to connect to the ether, to the everything, the space in between, which I believe is divinity, love, whatever. There's so many different, God, there's so many different names for it, but this energy that seems to permeate every single thing. And if you're choosing intentionally to tap into that and you're going into a state of reverence, then perhaps it is. And right, and maybe there's some ritual around that, but if you're just hopping on your device and getting to it, that to me is not the same as an altar. An altar is an intentional place that I go to in order to self connect with the energy, like I said before, of the elements that are going to go on top of it. So it sounds like you have these little things that might be around your computer, on a desk or wherever it is that you're working from. But I'm going to stick with my point that I do not believe that an altar is the same as a tablet computer device, in the fact that it's a tool meant to help us, and it is, if you look at it as you stated, if you went back to prehistoric times, or even 100 years ago, 50 years ago, it would be like, wow, this is so amazing. This seems like magic. Um, there might be some elements of that, like say we're sitting before our altar and we are remote viewing or telepathically communicating or doing energy work, which we know we can do through our devices, or communing with someone telepathically. So maybe in that way it can be a tool that's utilized in an altar space, but to me the device itself is just that, it's just a tool. So the altar would be the items that are upon that space around
I
you.
get it.
So
I
maybe
think
I'm
I
actually talking myself into agreeing with your point.
well, yeah. So
But I would
I
rather
think
stick to a
perhaps I'm
more
not.
traditional standpoint. Yeah. I
I
mean,
think
I would like to stick
perhaps
to a more traditional standpoint for this conversation, simply because maybe most people, and myself included, can be very distracted by the devices because of all the amazing places we can journey to. So unless you're super disciplined and aware, then I think that they're more so a tool of distraction when you're trying to sit into a place of connection. And that's the beauty of them, is because they're so useful. But yeah, go ahead, share what you care to bring forward. I want to hear more.
Yeah, well, I think that you brought a good point, and it really made me realize. I think I spoke too broadly about it as an altar, as more as maybe a modern day desk is, even though it's a distraction for some, for many it's not. For many, it's an intentional tool that they're using to create things. So to me, it's like, can a computer, a laptop, be an element on an altar? And
No.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard line, so that's fine. That's fair, but I don't agree. I think that
keep going.
yeah, I think it's just like a candle, right? I think it's just as like a candle. You can pray or you can speak things into.
Does a computer have the same element of fire?
No, it's
Is
more ether. I think the computer is more ether energy. It's like pure energy. So it's energy electrons, and things are being able to be shifted and moved. We can use our body and our mind to actually influence what's happening in the system, and that can create things that influence expanded connection to other individuals, and where we can connect, let's say, with our mind and through telepathy or through other unseen ways. This offers maybe a seen ethereal connection as a tool. And yes, sure, it can be a distraction, as you said. However, it's all about how you practice using the tool and how you approach it, right? Like you can approach an altar and just walk past it daily and not do anything with it. But you can sit down with it and you can practice, you can speak, bring things into awareness and make offerings. And I think as an energy exchange, we make offerings to an altar to and feel the exchange of energy. And so same here. If you have a blank device that doesn't have the internet or anything, it's just like a typewriter, you could sit down and create energy and send it into the machine, and you'll see words appear, create a story, and you have an exchange.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I feel like the altar is not something that you're typically like actively. You might place the things there, you might engage with it a little bit, but that's not like, you're not constantly picking up things and moving things and doing things potentially. I know, like when I come into and I sit at my altar, I like light the candles. I mess with this say like my daily altar. There's a candle that is illuminated. There's sage or a bell that's rang that I ring over my different talisman or totems that are there. And there might be like an oil that I use. I come into a prayer and do energy, and I might like tap everything that's on the altar just to like acknowledge it. But I'm not sitting there working with them and moving around a lot. But maybe some other people are like that. So I like what you're sharing, what you're bringing forward, and I think it's a really good food for thought. But I think it might confuse people when you start talking about bring your computer or bring your
phone. Yeah, I'm not suggesting that. This is just like a side quest conversation.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point that I need to chew on more before I can come to a better understanding of how you're seeing it that way. And I'd be really curious if you are actually utilizing your device in that way all the time. Because if you're not, as you said, you could just walk past your altar, but at least the altar's there and it is set up. If you're doing it with, which I hope we will get to, if you're picking items and placing them on the altar and treating it with resonance when you set it up, it's still holding that energy for you and the intentions that you had when you put that together. Whereas a device, if you don't use it, it's just going to be there for the sake of being there, possibly. So, 1 second. Yeah, you can go. I'm on a call, guys. Please go that way, please. Oh my goodness, guys, I need you to go away, please. Thank you. Yeah, that's fine. Go ride your bikes. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, I didn't mean to derail any path. I was just like felt like a tickle and wanted to explore some of the energy around that idea.
Yeah.
So I don't have a computer sitting on my altar. Obviously, you know me. So it's like I don't have that. I'm just exploring.
What are you talking about, sir?
Because if we like, I like to think about things in my mind. Like if I'm sitting on this thing. I don't want it to me. I don't want to conceptualize it as it's like taking from me. I want to be feeding it. And
Yeah,
so,
of course you're
there's some
feeding it.
form of like energy flow there, which, a nuanced use of words.
Yeah, most definitely. So maybe this is something we pin and come back to in the future about how we can move forward with all this technology that is continuing to emerge. How can we work with, AI is a huge subject, right? Like this is a whole other category of things to talk about as we move forward. I don't know how a computer can be incorporated into an altar in a way that, to me, and this is just my personal opinion, feels good. Like I will admit one thing that I do when I sit in my altar space, because many times I'm channeling comes through, songs come through, messages and downloads. If I'm not journaling it, I record myself speaking. Not all the time, but many times I have the phone right there for that. But that's, again, just a tool that I'm utilizing to capture things that are coming forward, just like I do when I'm in other ceremony spaces. But I like what you're sharing. I think I still have a hard line for myself, and have enjoyed the gymnastics and the expansive conversation around this. Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah, so maybe we should talk. We'll make an agreement, perhaps, if you're open to this, of really starting to talk more about more of a traditional perspective of altars, moving forward through the conversation. If something flares back up, of course, always inviting in alternative perspectives. So it's why not? We don't always want to just be preaching status quo. We want to also invite others into, like I said in the beginning, finding resonance, finding what feels really good and sacred, and maybe somewhat a computer is sacred to people or certain devices for whatever reason. My opinion wouldn't be, maybe it doesn't need to be on, but maybe for them it does. So who am I to be the altar police, right? We all have different things that resonate with us. But thinking about it from a more traditional lens, people can have a daily altar. I mentioned that before. Or you can have ceremonial altars that are built for a specific purpose. So in my home, there is an altar that is set up, and it changes, what's on it changes from time to time. I'll go and I'll clean it. I'll have a plant there and other things. But that's the altar that I go back to. That's like, it's like the anchor of my spiritual space within the bedroom. And that's where, like, my bedroom is like where I like to sleep, have my romantic sensual time, and where I like to connect with spirit the best. Since moved, so we'll see where things shift, but that's where the permanent altar has been. The daily altar has been for many years now. And then for ceremony spaces, like we did magic mushrooms together not that long ago, and we set up our own ceremonial space collectively between you and I. And then I've gone to ceremony circles where I've, built or brought elements of ceremony circle, and others have brought theirs. Simultaneously, you can create a traveling altar. Like in my car, I've always had these 2 crystals in my vehicle, and then what goes on my dash changes from time to time. And that's like my traveling altar. So I want to invite all those different ideas for someone and what feels nourishing to you. And I'm curious, Ben, like, how do you engage with altars? Like, do you have a daily altar? How do things like that work for you?
Yeah, well, I like to have a candle on the altar and it burning typically as much as possible. Obviously, with the move, there's been a lot of shifting and sorting out that, but typically there's like things of my travels, my journey, things that have some meaning to me, gifts that were given to me. And typically it's just like,
oh, so you're talking about your like daily altar. Not, I was speaking more so in regards to, like, do you have one that you travel? Do you have a
oh
travel
yeah, well,
altar?
so I
Do
had
you
an
have,
altar in my
oh,
I had an
okay.
altar in my vehicle, which was a collection of shells and stones, and it was on my dash. And I got pinged by my friend who was riding with me. He's like, "Hey, dude, you have a bunch of bullets on your dash if your airbag goes off." So I decided to take my vehicle altar that was in my vehicle and move and collect it and keep it sort of stored away inside the glove box.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I always have elements with me of my travels because I do travel and do works. So sometimes I need to set up something for works, and I'll bust that out, set it up so that way we have like a nice anchor point. Typically, it'll be like some Florida water, something that smells, some elements of earth, a candle, some wood, some and some other knickknacks like that I've gathered along with me. Some fun elements too, like a little finger puppet. Sometimes I'll have things like that. Just things that maybe I'm getting into the specifics, but I do have that as well. So and I have a case, like a carry case that I have all sorts of stuff in as well. So if I need to be on the fly and set something up, I have the ability to do that as well. And flowers, flowers are always for an altar, having something that's growing.
Yeah, so what I hear you talking about are the elements of that you like to include for your altar. So when I was talking about the really broad overview of cultural and religious types of altars, I didn't go really deep. That's information that can be found pretty easily for people. But there's different reasons and intentions, special occasions for specific elements that go onto an altar. And when I say elements, I don't mean like the 5 elements necessarily, which those actually do come into play, and we'll talk about briefly. But what I mean by that is like what makes sense for people and what feels sacred to you. And like, is there an intentional meaning of certain items, and how can you decide? Like sometimes we're a little bit indecisive, especially if we're first building an altar, like, oh, does it have too many things? Is this too much? And my answer to that is like, no, it's perfect exactly how you desire it to be. And one of the coolest and simplest ways to decide if there's high energetic frequency for that particular item, whatever it may be, which we'll kind of go through some of those things next, as Ben's kind of touched on. And you can do muscle testing, or you can use a pendulum. One of the simplest muscle testing techniques is you can make a little circle with your hand, and I don't know, here I'm off camera, and you can make a circle like this and not pinch your hands together, but keep them tight enough. And then you can ask a yes me. And typically a yes is you can't break the circle with your hands, and a no will be it'll break. So that's a really simple muscle testing technique. Another is called the sway technique. So if you're holding an item or you ask a question, you can say like, is it of the best and the highest good for this item to be on my altar? And your body may sway forward or backwards to tell you yes or no. And if you're not sure what yes or no is for you, get into a state of calm within your energetic body, and you can ask, show me no, you may lean back, or vice versa. Or you might get this like interesting swirl, which can also happen with the pendulum. So if you work with a pendulum, you just hold it really steady. You can even balance your elbow on a table so you're not shakily impacting the way that the pendulum swings. And you can energetically connect with that pendulum and ask it to show you to show testing techniques, or with the pendulum, is it's actually tapping into your subconscious or like your higher self and getting like the true answer. And if you feel like you're getting mismatched answers, then there's something that's blocking your energetic field. You can go back to a conclave I did about a month ago now, and that was about energetics and clearing out your energy field. And there's some good techniques there to just wash that away. But using some of these techniques are really helpful to affirm what you already know, if something is going to be of great importance and significance to be within or on top of any altar that you might create. So let's say you're starting to do your muscle testing and you're starting to come across items. Some of those things might be specific fabrics or textiles that you want to place down. You might have a beautiful dish that you push things on. Ben had mentioned candles. So candles are very good for alchemy, and you can have an earth element like the flower. You can have I don't know what you'd have for wind. Sometimes I think about the way automatically how wind is represented. And then the ether is just the space around you. Or maybe you want to have like a potted plant. Like my daily altar has a plant that lives on it, and that is my representation of earth. You might want to have like different images or statues, crystals. I don't know, touch on some crystals, and there's so many out there, and each of them have different properties and ways in which they impact us. So maybe Ben, you could touch on some of those if there's some that come to mind that you like to work with and have on your altar space.
Yeah, I have rose quartz on my, and labradorite, and actually, well, altar's in a box right now, so I'm just thinking about how it is put together. Got geode with crystal inside of it, quartz. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have. It's not. There's nothing set up at this moment. Oh, you left. You're gone. Oh, nice, awesome, fantastic, great. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't have one.
Hi. Okay, so I heard you say you don't have an answer, which is perfect. Like, I just know when we were preparing for this, you'd mentioned crystals, so I wanted to be sure that I gave you the floor for that.
Yeah.
But there's so many different types out there, my friend. So, you walk into a rock shop and there's it depends on the size of the rock shop. There can be so many. And what I like to do with anything is just kind of like scanning my hand over different stones and things. And if there feels like a great sensation, that's a positive sensation, lean into that. And then you can use your muscle testing technique and see if it's a good fit to take home with you, or maybe place on your altar, etc. Because they do each have different elements. So you had mentioned rose quartz. Rose quartz is something that I very much connect with. It's with the heart. For me, the heart and the yoni, as well as amethyst has been a stone I've always gravitated towards. And then certain elements like clear quartz is very clearing and purifying to have on an altar. So you can have onyx there for protection, jasper. There's so many different beautiful types to work with. And we don't want to get too deep into that and influence anybody's choices, but that might be a part of the earth element that you may want to connect with. I personally have a couple of different little statues that are on my daily altar right now. One's a dragon and one's an angel. The angel was given to me from my mom years ago, and it just something felt very suitable about it over the last 6 months. So I placed it on the altar. Some people like to have oils. I use essential oils at times. So when I want those oils to be used and really held in the container of the altar and the energy that's created there, I'll put those oils that I'm working with on that altar so they can be utilized and be filled with such powerful energy. You might want to put like money there as an offering or a representation of something. Some people pull, I've done this before, tarot, oracle, or angel cards, and pull one. And if it means something of significance, just placing it on the altar. And that is a remembrance of what those cards mean. And then at some point, like anything else that's on the altar, it might start to feel like, oh, these don't belong anymore. It's time to find them a new home. And when that happens, I highly encourage you to honor that and thank the elements of items that have been placed on your altar and take them away. And you might want to have musical elements. I mentioned a bell before. Bells are very high frequency. And for me, it's a way that I wake up all of the representation of the elements that are on my altar and wake myself up into this clear perspective. Or maybe you have a bigger instrument there that you like to work with. I know, Ben, you have a flute that you play. You play many flutes. So that might be something that you work with and tap into. And I don't know if you guys lost me or we lost Ben. Hey, Ben. What chaos tonight. Can you hear me? Yeah, so just curious, what are the other items and things that you like to have on your altar? You'd mentioned, I think, sage and Palo Santo, your beautiful shells, the little finger puppets. I've seen a lot of cool things, horns and antlers.
Yep, that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, Merkaba I've seen. There's this beautiful wolf necklace that you wear in ceremony that I see that you place on your altar many times when you're not in ceremony, like hosting a ceremony or leading a ceremony. So I think it just continues to stay within that ritualistic state. So ultimately, I don't think there's any rules as far as what can be placed on your altar. It's just what is in the highest frequency of whatever it is that you're wanting to focus on, and it is that a focal point. Hello,
Yeah,
Benjamin.
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Well, I did want to touch on kind of how to set up an altar if you've never done that before. Would you like to be the leader of the how to create your altar then?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. My mind is not functioning properly right now. Um, I don't know. I just do it. and just put it together as it feels.
Okay, all right, I'll lead it.
Yeah, I
I'll lead
mean,
it then. So yeah, it is not. It's kind of like if you go to a video we had created. I think it might have been our second conclave, which is creating self ceremony, and it's like preparing the space. So most of the time, we want to clear out distractions. We want to clear a space that feels really good to us. So my thought would be like clear and cleanse a space and choose a surface, whether that's like a shelf, a corner on the floor, a suitcase, a stump. Like I've literally created an altar in the middle of the woods where I stacked up rocks and I had 2 candles as part of this altar. Um, so, you can use things around you. It just depends on the intention. And then you intuitively gather the items that you want to have, right? Or maybe bless and name your altar, or what, like naming is embodiment of what this altar represents. And you don't necessarily have to say that out loud, but you can certainly, like within your mind's eye, like look at it and hear the name of what it might be or what it embodies. Write it in a journal, share it with a beloved one. And then I would say a powerful way to activate it is through touch. So touching everything, if you are into song or music, prayer, perhaps breath work, breathing, blowing air, you're bringing in some of the elements. I know, Ben, you love smoke and fire, so maybe activating it with smoke, or maybe all of those amazing elements could help to activate the altar and bring into that state of like here we are. Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would love to know, for those who engage with this beautiful video that's a little bit fun tonight with us bouncing around on and offline, what type of altars you've built, what type of altars you've experienced in ceremony spaces, and what you might offer up to the altars that you have built and may want to build in the future. And as always, we're inviting you to leave a comment in that way, or if you want to fill out our survey. It's like a review survey, which provides a space for you all to really reach out to us directly at the Church of the Synchro-Synthesis, expressing things that you would love to hear us talk about, or points you would like to go deeper into. Hey, I'm on a call. Please leave. Guys, you're not honoring what I asked you. No, please go away. Thank you. I'll be out in 5 minutes. Thank you. I'm on anti-duty right now. So yeah, just inviting that in for some feedback. And then, as Ben said, next week our conclave will be on energetics, focusing on the chakras. And if you're interested in other things we have going on, I just invite you to check out the calendar of events at thesacredsynthesis.com.
All right. Well, thank you.
You are welcome. So thanks to everyone for your patience. Thank you, Ben, for your patience with my tech challenges, and then also with the beautiful energy of children running about.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye.